Good evening, everyone. Thank you for attending this evening's Pullman Police Advisory Committee. I am Stephanie Rink. I am the chair of this committee. We will start off with our roll call for attendance. Isabella, can you start us off?
Yeah. Isabella Macon. I'm the Pullman High School student representative.
David Macon, multicultural representative.
Greg Wilson, Pioneer Hill alternate.
Miral Bakshi, GPSA representative.
Angelo Brown, multicultural.
Nathan Dean, parent of a school district child alternative.
Gwen Rank, Pullman High School student representative alternate.
Stephanie Rink, the chair. I'm also the Pullman School District parent.
Eric Tesla, business community.
Barbara Hammond, College Hill.
Phyllis Stalkoff, Sunnyside Hill representative.
Chris Santucci, WCU faculty staff.
Alexander Pan is a WCU representative.
Jerry Jenkins, police chief.
Great, thank you. So welcome everybody. The next order of business are the approval of minutes, as I know everybody's well versed in the minutes from last month. Anybody have any comments, questions, edits?
I have two edits.
Yes.
The very bottom of page 1, where it talks about that Pullman PD, first year Pullman PD has recorded response times. That should read has reported response times, because we actually record response times all the time, but we never have really reported on them. So we just change the word from recorded to reported.
Oh, has reported. Okay. I was like, it says recorded. Okay.
And then a little bit past halfway on page 2, it talks about the Quad Cities Drug Task Force. It should reflect that we do not have a full-time detective in the task force, but we do have a detective that liaisons with the task force.
So the Pullman PD has, are you talking about the Pullman PD has not had an active Quad Cities Drug Task Force liaison due to staffing shortage?
No, that's incorrect. We do liaison with them all the time, but we haven't had a full-time detective assigned to the task force during that year.
So it's not had a full-time then, instead of that?
Yeah, how would you like it read?
Looks like the word "not" could be deleted.
What's that?
Pullman PD has had an active Quad City Drug Task Force liaison.
And then after liaison, insert, but not a full-time detective assigned to the task force, and then due to a staffing shortage.
Not a full-time due to staffing. Okay. Any other edits? Comments? Questions? Kudos? Do we have a motion to approve with the edits
I'll
as
make
stated?
that motion.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. Okay, next, Lentil Festival recap. So we had some amazing volunteers at Lentil Festival. I think it went really well. Thank you for everyone who volunteered, and especially Isabella. Thank you so much for handling the cornhole toss. That went really great, especially when paired with the beer goggles. I'm not really sure if that's the actual name of those, but that was really good. It went fantastic with both young and young, middle, old, everybody. Everybody had a great time with that. It was pretty well attended. But a lot of good questions, comments, a lot of good exposure from when we were there. Do you want to add anything?
Yeah, pretty well covers it.
The beer goggles and cornhole?
Those are the most popular things, right?
It was popular.
It's good. It's always good to have the things for the kids to, toys for the kids to get, you know. It brings people in.
Yeah, we had, so for those of you, if you did not come and see us, we had the cornhole, and so with the little kids, they desperately tried to get it in. and they failed miserably, especially with the beer goggles on, but they got to come over to our little booth and picked out a prize. So they really enjoyed that. And then the adults were like, oh, yeah, no, we don't need to do this. We're good. And then they were just hitting people in the crowd because they couldn't get into the hole. It was really fun. It was a lot of good fun. I tried them on and definitely can see what a big problem it would be, because what I thought was straight on was way over there. But it was good. We had a really good turnout, I thought. So, Isabella, do you want to say anything about your participation?
Not really. It just, it was mostly just like adults like, psh, I totally can make it. Fills out somebody's leg. Yeah, more people fill out people's leg than at the cornhole.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it was good. So otherwise, great recap. A lot of people came, asked questions, but the people that didn't know who we were able to really advocate and explain what we do. So I thought that was really good. So, and then Saturday was fun too, but we weren't there. Anything else on Lentil Festival? Anybody want to add? Great. Well, we'll get straight to our main presentation here with Officer Scott Patrick. Thank you so much for being here today to talk about our online safety.
Thank you for having me. Is there a way to turn those off? I'm going to do this. I have a family media agreement that I will leave for you guys. And then I have a list of questionable or potentially dangerous apps that kids have, and teen culture resources, and then some monitoring resources for cell phones as well. Chief. Bring a flash around a little bit. Maybe. Technology is wonderful when it works correctly. Here we go. I don't like lecterns, just so you know. I'm a wanderer. And when I present, this is actually a very interactive presentation, so I would hope that you would all participate with me. There's some questions. Hopefully we can learn some things together along the way. I am in no way, shape, or form an expert. In fact, I don't believe you can be an expert in this field because it's an ever-changing, ever-developing. There's new apps that are coming out every day that we're learning about. There's new technology that's coming out. Trying to keep up with that is almost nearly impossible. We have a couple people within the organization that we go to for technological resources, etc. So if I run into a problem, run into an issue, I have kind of a subject matter person that I go to turn stuff over to. All right? So I went to this training a couple of years ago, put on by Sunnyvale Police Department. So I have to give them props and shout out for Sunnyvale and for Yahoo. They developed this presentation. I don't have the most current updated version. We keep going in circles about how I'm going to get that, whatever. So with that, so here's my introduction for you. If you need to leave, please leave. You're not going to offend me in any way, shape, or form. If you have your cell phones turned on, please turn them to silent mode. If you need to take bathroom breaks, whatever, knock yourself out. Technology is evolving rapidly, bringing opportunities and challenges that are new to this generation and new to all of us, really. Today we will have give you an overview of how your kids are interacting with technology, how you can help your kids be safe, smart, and responsible online. Here's a couple of my goals or objectives tonight. Have safer kids, have educated parents. I'm going to give you some resources, give you some tools, give you some thinking points, talking points with your kids, and then open communication. And to me, the most important objective here today is open communication with your kids, with your family, setting guidelines, parameters. That's why I give you a family media agreement. Come on. Okay. I give you a family media agreement that you can go through with your family to set up parameters, guidelines for your kids, talking points for your kids, open communication. I have an analogy that I use. I actually do this presentation with high school students and middle school students, and I think both of you have probably been through this before, haven't you? Yep, nod your head. Yeah, maybe you have. All right. Very similar presentation, but I open with this. Most teens, when they turn 16, get their driver's license, correct? Would you give your teen the keys to your car without giving them driver's ed, without setting rules and parameters and guidelines for them to drive, and just turn them loose?
No,
Why not?
because that's my car. I pay a lot for it, and it's dangerous.
Okay, it's dangerous. What other concerns would you have?
That's a great question.
You're looking at your child, right?
Yeah, I am. Oh, well, it's dangerous for them, for me, for other people.
Other people, right?
We need to keep everyone safe.
So, why in the world would you give a child access to the World Wide Web without giving them guidelines, rules, parameters? Because they not only have access to everything that you could have access to on a computer, but they have access to the entire world, don't they? So why do we do that? How many of your kids have phones? What's the age that you gave them a phone, their first phone?
13.
13, okay?
Probably 10.
7. No, 7.
7, 8, I have no idea.
7, 8, 9, all right.
But I had their everything locked down, password coded.
We're going to talk about that. We're going to give you some tools and resources today. But again, would I give them the keys to the car without having some expectations, having some training, giving them some tools and resources before I just turn them loose on the world? Why would I give them a phone and give them the same access? We have kindergartners, I'm not joking, that have iPhone 10s, $800 to $1,000 piece of equipment that I see at school on a regular basis. And this is not an iPhone 10, by the way. It's only a 7 Plus. Have an old one. So, here we go. Here's our agenda. How kids connect, devices and uses, your kids as publishers. And that's something that we need to think about, because when you're going online and you're doing things, you're a publisher. And we need to really think about and get our kids to think about, what messages am I sending? How am I affecting my reputation? Which is the next point, digital reputation. What is your digital reputation? And then online bullying and sexting. Both very, very common, much more problematic than we would like to believe, or maybe not as problematic, or some people may think it's not that big of an issue. It is a bigger issue now. How kids connect. Let's talk about that. How's technology's impact on your children different from when you were growing up? How's technology different?
They didn't have cell phones.
Okay, didn't have cell phones.
There was such a thing as a party line when I was a kid.
Party line when you were a kid. Okay. Rotary phone.
I didn't even have computers growing up.
Didn't have computers growing up. I can remember, I'll date myself, I can remember before the times of ATMs. I can remember, in fact, this summer we went on 2 trips, and I showed my kids, this is a payphone, and it's probably the 2 last payphones in North America. But a payphone, which is crazy. How many of you still have a landline phone at home? By show of hands. Okay. I'm one of the few that do too, and it's because my parents. Anyway, long story short. But technology has changed, hasn't it? Things that we can do now. How many of you remember the first cell phones? How many of you had a bag phone? I had a bag phone. 25 cents a minute. No data, no texting, right? All of those things. And now how has it changed? We've gone from being able to text, being able to access the internet, being able to do other things. The hardware that you have, the software that you have at your fingertips, is no longer just a phone. It does everything that your computer does, doesn't it? Online banking, things to think about. We're going to talk about passwords and all of those things. How are your children communicating? How are your children communicating?
Texting.
Texting? What else? Texting's kind of going by the wayside, by the way. Snapchat? What else?
Instagram.
Instagram?
Instagram.
What else?
FaceTime.
FaceTime? What else? Any others? You're back there doing this. What are you doing?
I know, I don't know what she's doing.
Talking on the phone? Using your phone for what its intended purpose was, right?
Yeah.
How many of you have Xbox or PlayStations? How many of you know that the Xbox or PlayStations has a chat feature on it?
Did not.
Oh.
Yeah. Interesting phenomenon in my household. Down in the basement, I can hear yelling and screaming, carrying on. I walk downstairs, and my youngest kid, I'm like, who in the world are you yelling at? He has a headset on. and he was talking to his friends in Tri-Cities. And kind of a eye-opening, awakening, oh yeah, he does have that ability, all right? So we changed the way we were communicating, or how we are communicating, right? Let's talk about devices and uses. How much time does your child spend using technology?
Way too much.
Way too much. That is a common response. Okay, let me ask you this. On average, how many of you think your kids use technology less than 2 hours a day?
No, since I started school and soccer, yes.
American Health Association recommends teenagers 2 hours or less screen time a day. Okay? How many of you know what the most recent data is as far as screen time usage for teenagers? How many hours a day do you think that is?
12.
Okay, 12. Anybody else?
Maybe 7.
Maybe 7? Okay. 2014 it was 7. Now newest estimates are 9+ hours a day, right? Screen time. When you think about that, and we have to look at how we are evaluating that, because you think your kid's downstairs watching Netflix, right? And you laugh because it's true, right? They're downstairs watching Netflix, but how often are they looking at their phones? How often are they Snapchatting on Instagram, direct messaging? How often are they, playing a game while they're watching TV or watching that movie? That all contributes to that time that they're spending, right? Think about that impact on their brain. Think about what they're doing. I'll throw adults under the bus. We all, adults, spend 11 hours a day. When you think about it, if you have a job, you're on your computer, what all are those things that contribute to that screen time, right? We're losing this ability, face-to-face communication. Go to a restaurant. Next time you go to a restaurant, put your phone down, first of all, right? Because we're all guilty of it. Put your phone down and start looking around. Look around at the tables and everyone's heads down. Everyone's... This is how we communicate now. We don't have conversations, or that's getting very, very challenging to have conversations. Come on in. Mobile devices are the #1 form of communication for teens. Who would disagree with that? Anybody? I've got to have that iPhone. I've got to have whatever the most recent updated version of that is, right? In their pockets, kids have portable and private access to the online world. Everything you can do on a laptop, computer, you can do on a smartphone, right? Tell me why an 8-year-old needs a smartphone.
No good justifiable reason.
There's no good justifiable reason, all right? What can your kids do on your mobile device, or on their mobile device? What are some of the things they can do? Go ahead.
Read.
Read? Wow.
Yeah, she does read.
Good for you. I actually have an iPad and I actually read on that. I don't do anything else on it. What is that saying? All right? What else can you do on your phone? What else can kids do on their phones? Take pictures, take videos.
Watch videos.
Watch videos.
Google everything.
Google everything. Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook. Whatever you can do on a computer, right? All right? So should we be monitoring that? Absolutely. How about this? The evolution of texting is just not texting anymore. Kids can message each other through a number of apps beyond just text messages, services that come on their phones or gaming consoles. So your gaming console, like I said, my son's downstairs playing Xbox with his buddies in Tri-Cities. Now think about that for a minute. It's actually kind of cool, but it's also kind of scary. Because if they're online gaming and they get online with people they don't know, think about the bad people that take advantage of that, looking for young people to exploit, looking for young people to do things with, right? So you have to be able to monitor that and be careful. With all the different ways to communicate, monitoring your child's message is more of a challenge. I will say this, when my kids, I'll speak about my family a little bit. When my kids first got phones, 12 years old, first phone they got, you can't, hard to find nowadays, could only call and could only text. And I sat down with them before I gave them the phone and said, here's the rules and here's the parameters. The phone is mine. We're going to talk more about that here in a little bit. phone is mine. At any point in time, I'm going to check your phone to make sure that you're doing things how you should be doing. Setting guidelines and parameters, aren't we? Right? Both my kids went, oh yeah. I had a media agreement with them before we started. Oh yeah. A couple weeks in, my oldest son, a couple weeks in, I'm checking text messages and I'm seeing some things that are making me very happy. I sit down and have a conversation with him and said, explain this to me. Well, that's not me, that's one of my friends sending it to me. I said, you need to have a conversation with your buddy, tell him to stop sending you stuff like this. My wife wasn't really happy with me, but it is what it is. Because it's really not him, it's, yeah. So we had that conversation. He comes back home the next day and says, well, I talked to so-and-so, and they said, just delete the messages. And I was like, huh. Here's a teachable moment. In my line of work, delete really doesn't mean delete in most cases. In some cases, it does. Because I can retrieve those messages. There's ways to retrieve messages. Not everything goes away. Sometimes it's a little more challenging than other times. But it gave me that opportunity to have those conversations. Didn't have a problem past that. A little bit longer, we did. So they had to demonstrate, again, it's like I go back to the driving analogy. Here's my drive time with my kids, right? I'm sitting passenger seat with them, monitoring what they're doing, hoping and making sure that they're making safe and responsible choices. I start dialing that back after they've proven themselves, shown that they can be responsible, shown that they can do things. Parenting is tough, right? This makes talking to your kids even more important. Talk to them about which apps they use and with whom they are communicating. When Snapchat first came out, my oldest son, I want Snapchat, and I'm like, why? Well, my friends have Snapchat. I said, tell me why you need, and this is early on, how many of you know about Snapchat? Sorta? Okay. Snapchat used to be, you could send short video clips, and you could send or set how long those video clips lasted. 7 seconds to 14 seconds. Tell me why you think Snapchat was developed.
There was no proof of what you sent automatically deleted.
So I can take videos however I want. I can send them to my friends, or not friends, whatever, and they disappear, right? So I had that conversation with my son, 13 years old, 14 years old, 13, 14 years old. Why do you think Snapchat was invented? Sexting. I'm like, so why do you need it? I don't. I'm like, okay. Here's the other thing. How many of you have access, and we're going to talk about this further on, how many of you have access or have passwords on your kids' phones or know your kids' passwords? Okay, we'll talk about that more and why that's important. So it opens up lines of communication though, doesn't it? It allows us to establish boundaries, it allows us to set expectations, what they're going to do, what you're going to do. And this, like I said, this media agreement is really, really good. It sets out guidelines for what your expectations are for them, but also what their expectations of you are. All right? Teachable moments. Yeah, have my kids lost their phones for a period of time? Yeah. You want to ruin a kid's world for a couple of days? You would think the world had come to an end. I can't breathe, I can't live without my phone. How many of you have set your phone down somewhere and can't remember where you put it? Or left it when you went to work? And is it full-on panic? Pretty close, isn't it? Like, oh my gosh. I'm a little different because my phone case, I have my driver's license and a couple of credit cards. So my phone doesn't go anywhere but with me. So I'm very, very protected. So things to think about. Here we go. Considerations. Have you thought about the fact that your kids could use the phone to share their location publicly or privately? Say hurtful things. Send an inappropriate or risque photo. Cheat on tests. Our schools are now taking phones from kids. We're making them ground their phones while they're taking tests, quizzes, etc. Because how fast can I text? How can I send a message? Somebody sitting down away from me. I used to work in the drug task force. I had, back in the day, I had an informant that with the old flip phone, she could text paragraphs in her pocket with the T9 texting. Yeah. Texting app. And the first time she sent me a message when she was inside of a house, I freaked. Because I'm thinking she's doing this. Whatever, and she wasn't. So think about how sneaky. Because when she came back to me, I was like, what in the world are you doing? And she's like, what? She goes, me and my friends, we hang out and we do this all the time. See who can text the fastest and who can send messages faster than anybody else. So cheating on tests is a good thing. Meet people for hookups. Draw your own conclusion as to what I mean by that. All right? Where are they connecting online? Where are your kids connecting? Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat. I can give you a list of apps as well. That's how we're connecting. Your contract, your phone. This is really, really important, critical. Right? When your parent signs a contract, it's the parent's phone. The parent is also responsible for what happens on and to the phone. In the state of Washington, you cannot sign a contract until you're 18 years of age. So if you have a kid that is a minor, that phone is yours. You're responsible for it. Horror story. Right? Horror stories. Adult child living at home, using the internet to serve child pornography. Our agency gets a tip. We show at the home. For the search warrant, we seize computers and everything else. Right? You're the parent, and this is an adult child. It's kind of a contradiction, but this is an adult, right? Whose name is on the Wi-Fi, whose name is on the contract? Dad's. Dad have some explaining to do? Absolutely. Is that a situation you want to find yourself in? Absolutely not. Right? So it's your contract to your phone. I do this with kids, and I ask them, how many of you own your own phone? Every hand in the room goes up. And they're like, absolutely not, you do not. Well, I thought it. Doesn't matter. Contract's in your parent's name. Contract is your parent is responsible for that. Right? If your child's phone is locked, do you know the passcode? How many of you know your kids' passcodes? Right? How many of you know all their passwords?
Some of us have children much older than you're talking
yes,
about.
That's probably true. Probably much older than what we're talking about. All right, and I'm talking about younger kids. So here's how I address this issue. Like I said, I go back to the car analogy and driving. So they get the first phone that they can text and they can call, right? Then they move into something else. They get a smartphone, whatever, because you can't find a phone that doesn't do anything but be a smartphone anymore. It's a challenge. I would challenge you to try to find, okay, Jitterbug, and Jitterbug even has access to the internet now. If you don't know what a Jitterbug is, go look it up. First thing I did with my kids, they get a phone, all right? Everyone has to have the newest and greatest and latest Apple whatever product, all right? I set up their Apple ID, and I set up their Apple password. They know what their Apple ID is. They do not know what their Apple, my oldest son does now. He's an adult. But they don't know what their Apple password is. I control the Apple password. You want to put a new app on your phone? You got to come talk to me. And we're going to have a conversation. Go back to Snapchat. I go back to that. You have to come to me and I have to approve that. Right? This is an interesting dynamic between parents. Sit down and have a conversation with your spouse. Make sure you're all on the same page. Because I came home one day and I picked up my oldest son's phone and I scrolled through it and I find Vines on his phone. Vine is a video, messaging, whatever. And I'm like, how in the world did you get Vines on your phone? Well, Mom let me have it. And I was like, oh, man. So, my wife and I had to have a conversation. That's one way that you can protect them from making choices that may end up tragic for them. All right? When you call, do your kids answer? Hopefully, yeah. Hopefully. That's why you gave them the phone, right? That's the justification. I'm not joking. That's the justification for the kindergartner to have a phone. Because if there is an emergency, I need to get a hold of them. I will guarantee you, I work in the schools 5 days a week. If you call the front office and say, I need to talk to my kid right now, I guarantee you they will get up and they will go find your kid. Your kid does not need the $1,000 iPhone, whatever it is now. All right? Set rules and consequences before giving them the phones. Give them notice. Tell the phone kid that their phone is going to be checked. Can they hide things? Yes. Can they delete things? Yes. But if you have that conversation and you have that open line of communication with them, Aren't you establishing what's going to happen, right? Follow through, maintain an open conversation about what apps your children are using and how they're using them. Instagram, when Instagram first started, they had direct messaging. You know what I mean by that? So it's a texting app within Instagram. Instagram did what Snapchat did. They started having the disappearing messaging, which drove me berserk, because Instagram was a better alternative at the time, but Instagram now has its own problems too. Turn off and turn in. Establish usage rules, including the time to turn off at night. How many of you make your kids bring their phones to a certain point? Good for you. Grounded, turned off. I tell the kids in my classes in high school, nothing good happens at midnight with your phone in your bedroom. Yeah. 80% of teens have viewed pornography on their cell phone. I'm trying to remember numbers in my head. A significant 39% have either asked for or solicited or been solicited to send an inappropriate photograph or video. So again, turn off, turn them in. Control that, all right? Your kids as publishers. Questions as we go along. Okay. Your kids as publishers. Because what they're doing is really publishing, isn't it? Right? Internet is not only a platform to connect, but also a place to publish. You can do some really, really wonderful things on the internet. Blogging. Use your own imagination, what you can do, all right? Kids and parents should respect minimum age limits. When your children are honest about their age, companies can put age-appropriate features in place to keep your children safe, all right? TikTok, we're going to talk about a couple of these apps. A couple of these apps you have to be 18 to be in. How many kids can lie? Okay. How many kids do lie? How many kids have a Tumblr account? How many kids have a TikTok account? How many, I can go on. I used to have a fake Facebook account, and I still kind of do. I have a fake Instagram account, and I have a fake Snapchat account because of what I do for a living, all right? When Facebook first started, when I was in the drug task force, I was a 19-year-old WSU female student, and you should have seen my picture, and you should have seen the people that would accept friend requests from me. It's crazy. Great link analysis chart. Why does this person know this person? Because I can go into their friends list and I can go, wow, look at all the people they know, right? So think about what you're doing. You don't have to be honest, right? What do you know about privacy settings? Each site has different privacy settings that can control such things as, how many of you have Facebook? How many of you routinely go into Facebook and check the privacy settings? Let me encourage you to do so if you haven't already. Do that on a routine basis, because when they update, your privacy settings sometimes get reset and people see things, right, that you probably don't or may not want to share, etc. Who sees your information? You can set privacy controls. You can see who sees your information, who can find and contact you, who sees your location. We'll talk about location services here in a second. And then how you can block people. Many kids know how to use privacy settings and use them to avoid their parents seeing what they post. Okay? So if you go into your privacy settings on Facebook or one of your other apps, you should be able to control all of those things. Who sees what your information you have? Because I have I'll roll back a little bit. My mother's 84, my dad's 88. My mother has had a Facebook account for probably 10 years. I stayed off Facebook up until about, legitimately off Facebook, until about 3 years ago. And it became a very easy way for me to communicate with them, send pictures, that kind of thing. But I'm really, really careful. And bless my mother, she doesn't quite understand the privacy settings, and she uses Facebook kind of as a messaging service. And it's like, please stop sharing. Thanks. But anyway, make sure you understand the privacy settings. Make sure you understand location services. Do you understand? Anybody know what location services you can do with location services? Okay. So let's say you post a picture on Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat. That picture is, unless you have your location services set correctly, will send GPS coordinates, or will attach these GPS coordinates to that picture. Now, if I'm a hacker, if I'm somebody else, or I'm stalking somebody, and I have the awareness and the ability, I can figure out where you're at, right? not Gordon Graham. Can't think of his name. So when people go on vacation and they're posting pictures of them on vacation, things not to do, don't post death when you're on vacation because you're telling the world that my house is available for you to come take my 70-inch flat screen TV and all my stuff because no one's home. Post your pictures afterwards. If you want to share, share afterwards. Don't share while you're gone. All right? How about this? Kids need to protect their personal information. When they share their passwords, they give up those protections. I can tell you, kids in the high school, kids in the middle school, they share their passwords with their friends because they're friends today. Friends today become unfriends tomorrow. And then they start doing things on their friend's account that aren't very appropriate and sometimes cause problems, right? Teach them not to share their passwords or phone locks or other personal information only with you, not with their friends, right? When you'll be checking their phone, they're more likely to behave responsibly. Is that true?
Hopefully.
Yeah. Use this analogy. When you see the police officer sitting on the side of the road, inevitably, do you look down and look how fast you're going? You slow down. You start acting more responsibly, hopefully. Hopefully, yeah. It's that presence because they know. Are they going to make mistakes? Absolutely. And I have a weird philosophy, particularly coming from a police officer. I want kids to make mistakes. I want kids to make mistakes because most of the time, the consequences aren't as severe because they're kids. Most of the time, they have a network with them, parents, family, whatever. We can use those things as teachable moments for them, and hopefully they don't make those mistakes when they get older, when the consequences get much more severe and much more challenging, right? So I want kids to make mistakes because I want the ability to correct those mistakes and help them learn from them and help them move forward, all right? Here we go. If kids come across something that makes you uncomfortable, make sure they know they can come to you. That's where that communication, that's where that dialogue becomes critically important. You have to be able to have a conversation with your kids. Uncomfortable conversations, things that make you uncomfortable, things that make them uncomfortable. But if you build that relationship, they will come to you when things go sideways, you know? Offensive and inappropriate content can be reported. Each site has its own way to report abuse, Find the report abuse link or flag. You all know that every website, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, you can go on, because we do this on a pretty regular basis in the middle school and the high school. Somebody has posted something that's inappropriate or is offensive or whatever. If the parent or guardian or whoever hasn't already gone on to Instagram, Snapchat, or whatever and reported that, we can contact law enforcement or the schools can contact as well. And I will tell you, for the most part, most of the sites are really, really good about taking down offensive content or fake accounts, all of those things. Because kids, I have somebody that was a runaway recently that has 4 separate Instagram accounts that I'm aware of, and I'd be willing to bet money they have more than that. But those are the 4 that I could find, right? You can also seek help from school or the police department when appropriate, right? Threats, harassment, other things can be reported to the school. If it's impacting your child's ability to go to school, the school can do something about it. If it's a threat or ongoing harassment, law enforcement, that's actually technically a crime, both of those scenarios. We will investigate and we will take appropriate steps. Okay? I'm not going to play this video. I'll play the other one later. So we're going to talk about digital reputation. When did your digital reputation start?
Some kids from the day they're born, because parents are posting about them on Facebook, every bit of detailed information that you would need.
I have a 26-year-old niece. Again, I'll throw my family under the bus a little bit. I have a 26-year-old niece. She has 2 kids. Their digital reputation started in utero because she was posting sonogram pictures. Think about that for a minute. Before you're even born, you're online and you have an online presence. So, all of those things. I'll paraphrase this video for you because I don't want to run too late. Young man has a baseball scholarship, worked his entire life to get a baseball scholarship. Goes to a party, underage drinking, one of his friends takes a picture of it and posts it. Right? consequences. He ends up losing his baseball scholarship, ends up having some pretty significant consequences over one mistake, right? So we need to think about what our relation, or where our reputation is. The other part of this video is a young man who started a blog. Again, there's some really, really positive things you can do on the internet. He started a blog, he and his friends, and they started posting things that they found interesting, that they could share, music, artwork, some other things. A national company picked up on his blog. He started getting followers and everything. National company picked up on his blog. They offered him scholarship to school and offered him a job after he was done with school. So there's some really, really positive things that you can do. And you can encourage your kids. YouTube is the #1 visited website by teens. You don't know that? There are a lot of kids that have their own YouTube channels, and they share sometimes good things, sometimes not so good things, right? But if we can encourage our kids to make good choices and to promote themselves, the ceiling is endless. You know, they can go wherever they need to go, all right? Online image is created by the way they represent themselves or present themselves and the way they treat other people. So they need to understand that they're leaving lasting digital footprints through their actions online. What you do today will follow you. Parents have the opportunity to make sure those footprints help not hurt their digital reputation, right? Colleges, businesses, police departments. We get candidates. One of the first things we do, can't ask them for passwords, can't ask them for whatever. But we will go online and we'll look and see, what are you posting? Are you the kid that's constantly partying, doing whatever, posting all of these things? Or are you the person who's posting positive things? So those are all things that impact your reputation, right? Kids haven't changed. They're exploring their self-identity. They're searching for connections and validation, right? Nothing's really changed. You just have a better way, a different way to do that now. They're experimenting, right? Kids are going to experiment. That's just life, right? I get asked all the time, do we have a drug and alcohol or whatever problem with the high school? We have the same problems that every high school in the United States of America has, to one degree or the other, right? If you look at the drug usage nationwide in that demographic, 10 to 15% of your high school students are using, experimenting, right? We have 900 and some kids. That's 90 to 115 kids. If you put the 3 principals and I in a room, I bet you we could come up with pretty much that whole list. There'd be a couple of flyers that would surprise us, but yeah, we'd probably have a pretty good idea who those people are, right? This is the way it is. Then being mean to each other. We have a better way to bully now. It's horrible. Absolutely horrible, some of the things I've seen, right? The environment in which kids have played has changed. There are portfolios of past actions. Consider that college and future employers, like I said, they're looking at all the stuff your kids are posting. You know, if you're posting bad stuff, that doesn't go away. We can find that, right? Get involved in creating a positive online reputation for your child. Be open to what your child has to say. Kids may be reluctant to talk to their parents for fear of getting their phone taken away. It's a true story, isn't it? You like to ruin their life. You took their phone, for heaven's sakes. Won't be able to eat, breathe, or whatever. It's the right thing to do. But you need to have those conversations up front. Be willing to listen. Be willing to be uncomfortable to establish that relationship. Understand that the world is not the same as yours when you grew up. It's a whole new ballgame. Whole new ballgame. It's scary. Downright scary. What kids have access to. All right? I'll back up just a little bit. What they have access to, how they communicate, is totally different than how we did. And it's a learning experience for all of us. It is a challenge for all of us. But again, I go back to the communication component of this. It drives me insane to see this. And I'm just as guilty at times as my kids and others. But we got to put it down. We got to engage to be able to have those conversations, to build that trust, to build those relationships. All right. Let's talk about online bullying and sexting. This is my last section. I have 15 minutes, right?
You're fine.
Okay. All right. How to treat others. Bullying gets a lot of buzz. Why? Has bullying somehow become some epidemic in the last 10 years?
No, it's just more visible now.
It's more visible now. Why?
Well, because it's posted online or it's perpetuated online by other bystanders.
Okay. So, used to be, bullying was one-on-one. You're whatever, you're, and not everyone saw that. Now, we have a better platform. I hate the word better in that context, but there's a platform where we reach a much broader audience.
And it's 24/7.
And it's 24/7. Is there a difference between online and in-person bullying? What's the difference? You're nodding your head. What's the difference?
I think there's a lot of the amplification of it.
Amplification? What else?
Well, because it's lasting, right? Mm-hmm. The idea that you amplify, it's lasting, it doesn't disappear, right? You can leave school, it follows you.
And it follows you.
Perpetuates.
Because you can't put the phone down. Because you have to see what someone's saying about you, don't you? You have to. Just can't say no, put it away. You have to see what someone's saying.
Well,
It's
the person
crazy.
doing the bullying is braver because they're online. They can say anything.
I'll flip that on you. I'll tell you a little story. A couple years ago, I had a young man at the high school. He was a junior. His girlfriend was a freshman. She broke up with him, made him mad, and so he went on to Instagram and he on blast. Horrific, absolutely horrific things that he was saying about her, to the point that it reached criminal levels because it was repetitive, it was ongoing, and some of the things that he was saying. Pulled him into my office, said, "Tell me about this." And he said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Why are you saying all these things?" "Well, she made me mad. She broke up with me." And I'm like, "Okay." I said, "Would you say this to her face?" And he was like, "No." I'm like, "Why not?" He goes, "Well, it's not very nice." I said, "So let me get this straight. Behind the keyboard, you're willing to put all this out there. You're willing to say all these horrible things about her that aren't true, but you're not willing to say it to her face." And he was like, "Yeah, whatever." I said, "So you're a coward." He got mad. "Sorry, Chief." Generates a complaint, I apologize. Actually, it's been like 5 years ago. 4 years ago.
Beyond the statute of
Beyond the
limitations.
statute. Yeah. I said, "So you're a coward." And he goes, "You can't call me that." And I said, "Well, isn't that what you are? If you're not willing to say it to her face, why in the world are you on social media blasting it to hundreds of people?" And he's like, I don't really know. She made me mad. I'm like, "Well, you need to find a better way to resolve your anger, a more appropriate way. And think about how you're treating other people. How would you feel if someone did that to you?" "Well, I'd be pissed." I said, "You see my point?" Yeah. Golden rule still applies. What's the golden rule? Say it again.
Do unto others as others do unto you.
Treat other people how you want to be treated, isn't it? That's a two-way street, right? Treat people respectfully, hopefully they respect you back. Bullying can mean a lot of things. Kids use additional terms to describe the behavior, knowing that the word bullying often suggests adults will intervene, right? So if I'm mean to somebody one time, am I bullying them? If I say something horrible to somebody one time, am I bullying them?
I say yes.
Not necessarily.
I'd say no.
Because bullying by definition is repetitive in nature to exert power or control over someone else. Right? So one time me being a jerk, I'm a jerk. Right? Doesn't necessarily mean I'm bullying somebody. Alright? No matter what you call it or where it occurs, you can teach a guiding principle of treating other people with respect. Right? Put yourself in someone else's shoes. How would they feel, right, if you were doing this to them? Or it was being done to you? Online, you can reach huge audiences with the touch of a button. I call them keyboard warriors. Right? Because isn't that what they are? They're keyboard warriors. They don't have the courage, the ability to do it, but they do it to hurt other people. Hurtful comments can be More impactful because it can spread quickly, stay longer, and may resurface. You think it's all over, you think it's done, 2 weeks later somebody else pulls back up the chat and puts you on blast again, right? Other people can join in, yeah, whatever the comments are. Because they're not seeing the immediate impact of their actions or believe they're anonymous. Kids can be way more cruel online, right? Like I said, I've seen some horrific, mind-boggling things from middle schoolers and high schoolers. It's like, where in the world did that come from, right? Discipline of school. School administrators have the authority to discipline students for online issues, even if they didn't happen at school. If you were impacting the school day, you are making it uncomfortable for someone else to come to school because of the online bullying or harassment or whatever, actually the school can do something about it. And we partner together, we work pretty well together to address those issues as they come up, all right? Sometimes we get reluctancy from the school administrations because of some of the intricacies and some of the other things, but oftentimes we work together to make sure or try to prevent further instances, all right? You and your child have the opportunity or have the support within the community, partner with other parents. If I can encourage you, not only to communicate with your kids, but communicate with other parents. True story. My wife is on my son's phone, my youngest son, checking out a direct message group, and then there's some words and things going on. Next thing I know, she's on the phone to another mom. That spins to another mom, and there's a conversation that takes place, and a couple kids lost their phones for a little while, some other things, but parents need to communicate together. I've told other parents, if my kid's doing something, please come tell me, because I will address that. And if I see, and I'm kind of in a weird position, but if I see something, I will come communicate to you as well, right? We need to look out for each other. It takes a village to raise kids, even more so now. If something happens, remember the police are there to help. I'm here to help you, I'm not here to hurt you. If we can prevent something before it gets further down the road, I think that's really, really important to do that, right? Enough about bullying. How about sexting? Sexting is the act of sending sexual language or images to other individuals, right? Taking pictures, taking videos, asking for inappropriate videos, asking for inappropriate pictures. Kids' terminology often change. Selfie, pics. I've seen some other language that I'm not going to use in here. The medium also varies. Among other things, it can be text, social media, apps, emails. Has anybody heard of Periscope? Nobody's heard of Periscope? You have. Tell us what Periscope is.
The live streaming app.
Live streaming app for what?
Twitter. Well, connected to Twitter, whatever.
Kind of connected to Twitter. So I went to a class a year ago, put on by a guy who's the leading expert in child killers, serial killers. He's a different kind of guy, but he does a really, really good presentation on some of the internet things that kids have access to. So he pulls up on his phone. He says, how many of you have heard of Periscope? And I was like, yeah, I've heard of it. Pulls up on Periscope. He goes, watch this. He goes, I have a fake Periscope account. Puts it up on his phone. He projects the phone image on the screen behind him. And he goes like this, and he pulls out, and all of a sudden you get a world view map of all the locations of people who are live streaming. Think about that for a minute. All of the locations of all of the people that are on that app right now. Right? So he goes, hey, let's do this. He goes, I'm from Florida. He goes, let's see if anybody's I'm in the Orlando area. Let me see if I can connect with somebody, and we'll look for a teen girl, have a conversation with her. All right. So he pulls it up. He says, hey, I can't find anybody. He pulls up in New York, 2 girls sitting in a car in a high school parking lot. And they're laughing and joking and doing whatever else. And so he starts, and it's a live stream feed, but you can actually text communicate while you're live streaming. Right? Does that make sense? So he starts having a conversation with them. Hey, what's up? What are you doing? Goes on for a little bit, and he goes, I'm kind of bored with this. He goes, let's find somebody else. So he goes to a place in New York. It's a girl in her bedroom, and she's live streaming with him. And she starts talking to him, and you can see all the other people that are communicating with her. She's probably 14, 15 years old. Am I scaring you yet? Because it scared me, right? So he has this conversation with her, and he goes, watch this. He zooms out, and you literally, like Google Earth map location to where she was. Now think about that for a minute. Your kid's online, unbeknownst to you, streaming all over the place, sharing your location, and the next thing you know, you got men showing up at your house. Bad. Really bad. All right? So there's a lot of different ways that kids can communicate. There's a lot of bad things that can happen with this. All right? Here we go. Why do they text? Sex, excuse me. To entice someone as a game, to show interest in someone, to prove commitment. Right? Conversation I have with my high school and middle school kids. If someone is asking you for pictures, are they truly out for your best interest? Do they truly care about you? Do they truly love you? No, absolutely not. Legal, there are crimes associated with nude pictures of minors. Police involvement is more likely in instances of underage sexting. We've changed the law in the state of Washington a little bit. Child pornography under the age of 18 if you're sending images. All right, we have a new statute that involves kids because there's an issue. I'll roll back a little bit. A couple years ago, I had a young man that had a video and some pictures of a girl that he was with. He threatened her that he was going to put it online if she didn't do whatever. That got reported, long story short, served a search warrant, seized his phone, seized his computer, some other things. He had over 1,000 images. They were using an email server. They would log in under an email account, and they were trading images of girls. I identified 11 girls in Pullman High School. They were trading images like baseball cards. They don't like you. They don't care about you. That's not how you show love. That's not how you show respect. Right? All right. Parents don't want to see naked pictures of their children, excuse me, surfacing on a website, sent around school, or coming up in a college or employment search, right? I know I don't. I'm going to play this video. This video is about 7-8 minutes long. It's actually a really, really good video. Kind of the downfall. And I'll tell you, I'll back up on that story I just told you about the search warrant. The young lady that was involved in that ended up cutting herself repeatedly as a result of this. Ended up leaving Pullman High School because it was an untenable situation for her. Because everyone knew, when in fact not everyone knew, but everyone knew, so it was really, really uncomfortable for her. So she ended up transferring schools and going somewhere else. She got the necessary help that she needed. She stopped cutting herself. She's doing pretty well since then. But things to think about, all right? So, you're my sound guy, right? Sure. All right.
Jill's friends would describe her as a loyal, fun, very stylish, funny, but also at times bossy. And she would tell kids that she'd be over at their house and say, guys, let's not watch TV, let's go do something. Because I only have 2 hours before I have to go home, and I want to go do something.
Jill started out her freshman year in high school as a cheerleader. She started cheering in the summertime so that when she got to her first day of freshman year, she was well known at the high school already, and she was a flyer on the cheer team, was always meant to fly.
And this cheerleading wasn't just pom-poms, it was standing on other shoulders and doing some pretty dramatic events, but also being a flyer, the one on the top of the pyramid. She was the one that was most visible. She was the one that became the star. In December, Jill's behavior changed a little bit. We noticed that she began to pull away from the family.
And we worked very hard to let her do the things that she wanted to do and keep it in a safe environment. that we had some control over. And that was a difficult task. And we worked long hours of discussing it with her as to what we felt was important and how she should behave.
What was going through my mind was initially the feeling that this is a teenager. And I knew that Jill was very strong in her personality. And I knew that she was a good kid. She's a really good kid. Both my daughters are great kids. And she was just exploring her sort of self-identity. And I saw it as a way for her to become independent. And so I supported it, but it frustrated me when she was pushing away from the family.
The day Jill died, I walked into her bedroom to wake her up around 11 a.m. and I walked in and the dog jumped up on the bed and she said a sweet hello to me. And I said I was concerned because she was sleeping late and I thought she should get up and get started on her day because it was Sunday.
I came home and saw Jill had been, she was awake and she was talking with Polly. But again, she wouldn't talk to me. And I felt that she was just mad that I cut her curfew from 11 to 10.
All proceeded to get settled and I began making dinner. I went to get her for dinner just shortly after 6 p.m.
Polly went to Jill's door. And it was atypical. The door was locked. And Polly knocked on the door and went around. Nothing happened. So she went around to an adjoining bathroom and entered Jill's room through the bathroom.
And I found her hanging from her closet door, hunched over on the ground.
That's when I heard Polly scream. And I came running. I knew something was wrong. And Polly kept calling out that Jill had killed herself. She hung herself. She's hung herself. And by that time, Polly was able to get to the door, so I came through the front door of Jill's room. And I was struggling to lift Jill and at the same time manipulate the ligature off her neck. Polly had grabbed a pair of scissors, and so she cut the ligature and brought her down. And I rested her down, and I started CPR as well as I knew I could, or tried the best I could. And I remember looking at Jill's face and realizing that her eyes were dilated and fixed, which means they weren't moving. So I knew that that wasn't good.
And that was our nightmare.
And we'd known her personally and known the whole family for a long time and liked them. They were nice people. And as she told me, she asked, and I give her so much strength and the courage she had to come forth. But she wanted to sit down and said, I don't know how to tell you this, but I think there's more details you need to know.
And she told us that her son had come to her and said that there was a picture that Jill had sent him of her, the naked upper body picture that she had sent to him in December. And it had been passed to another boy and then to another boy and put up on the internet. We were very surprised when she told us about the picture. We had no idea. Jill was very private. We couldn't understand why she would send something like that to a boy that she wasn't a boyfriend, it was just a friend.
I first thought, this isn't true. I first thought, this can't be true. Then I thought, I need to at least know. I need to at least pursue this and bring it to the attention of the police department.
1 week prior to her committing suicide, she was very, very much on her mind that she was troubled about the picture and how far it had gone and how many people were seeing the picture. She was texting friends that she was going to commit suicide. She might as well commit suicide.
And it was later that we heard from the police officer and little pieces of information that this was actually happened. And he had interviewed several kids at the high school who were in Jill's class, and Jill had known, and compared stories, and the information began to be consistent about the picture, and that the picture had gone to boy A, who sent it to boy B, who then gave it to boy C, who posted it on the internet. Telling this story primarily to get the idea across to other parents and kids that they really need to look past just a reputation, but need to look at their character. If any of those boys had just pressed delete, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
Other parents should be aware that this is happening, and it's not. It's all over the world. It's not just in our neighborhood. And talk with your children and teens about the subject and get educated on the subject yourself so you can learn how to handle it, and really talk to your children about it. It can be fun, it can be dangerous, these new toys that we have.
Couple of sidebar notes on this, just a little bit. I actually, let's see what I can do. When I went to the training that was put on by Sunnyvale and Yahoo, the video is actually much longer. They interviewed the 3 boys that were involved. That video was from them about chest down. Never revealed any identity, never showed anything of them. Obviously, they had to have permission from parents to be able to do that. About 6 months after they started with the video, they were training other law enforcement organizations and other things. One of the parents came in and said, I want to see the video. Showed them the video. The parent says, you're going to take my kid out of that video or I'm going to sue you because he is now having a hard time getting a college football scholarship because of the notoriety and publicity of this. Quite a mindset. Quite a mindset. I'm going to get a big black image in the middle of my technology. Yay. Uh-oh. There we go. Anyway, what parents could do. Monitor what your kids are doing. Monitor their media use, including text messages, photos, everything else. How many of you know that there is a calculator app? You know what a calculator app is? Yeah. It's not really a calculator. It actually works as a calculator, but if you put in a passcode, that's where I keep all my photos and all my videos. Okay? That I don't want mom and dad to see. All right? Help protect your kids. If you're aware of an incident, share it. All right? Teach your kids to respect themselves and others. Asking for sexy or naked photos is not acceptable. Period. Send photos and messages that help build a positive digital reputation. Encourage them to report to a trusted adult if they're faced with a compromising photo. I've done this presentation in the high school and the middle school. It's all kind of fun and games until we get to that video, and literally, you should see the reactions of some of the students. They're like, wow, maybe this isn't as funny as I thought it was. Maybe it isn't as cool as I thought it was. Right? It's kind of an eye-opener for them. Right? Very, very powerful. Here's my summary for you. Technology has great benefits. How does technology benefit you and your family? How? I'll share with me. Like I said, my mom is 84, my dad is 88. FaceTime is a wonderful thing. It's been an awesome way for my kids to get to see my parents. My parents live on the other side of the state. Interact with them. They have been able to do some things through school and other things utilizing technology that absolutely blow me away, what they can do now, right? It can have great benefit if it's used in a positive way. Recognize that media is a big part of your child's life. As hard as this is, as hard as all of the online things that they're doing, it is part of their life, right? Understand your child's online and mobile world, apps, Wi-Fi, gaming systems, etc. I didn't even talk really about Wi-Fi. I have a friend in the summertime, and I know that this is kind of a common thing. If you want the Wi-Fi password for the day, here's a list of things that you have to do to get the Wi-Fi password. Call me when they're all done.
It's a great idea.
It's a great idea. And like I said, having that communication with not only your kids, but having that communication with other parents gives you wonderful ideas on how you can make things more positive for them. That's not a punishment, right? That's earning. That's learning how to be responsible. That's learning how to do things the right way. Help them build and maintain a reputation that makes them proud. Not necessarily you, makes them proud. Because isn't that more important? That they're proud of themselves than you being proud of them? Probably a little more. Encourage balance. This is hard. The amount of time kids spend with media and technology should be equivalent to the time they spend doing other activities. That's hard, isn't it? Put down your phone, get outside, go do something else, right? Set your family's rules for using technology and devices as well as the consequences for breaking them. That's why I provide you with the media agreement. You can modify that agreement. You can do whatever you want. Whatever your balance you want to make it, all right? Kids may be ahead of you in technology, but you have the life experience and skills to guide your children's choices online, right? It's weird. There's a weird phenomenon that takes place. From the time a kid's about 12 until they're about 25. Mom and dad don't know squat. So they're about 25, and then suddenly you become really, really smart at about 25, right? If you don't know how an app works, here's a great teachable moment. Hey, sit down with your kid. Hey, I want the same app. I want to get on Snapchat with you. You should be friends on Snapchat with your kids. You should be friends on Instagram with your kids, right? Show me how Instagram works. Show me how Snapchat works. It's a great way for you to communicate. Great way for you to build that relationship and build that trust, right? Discuss accountability to ensure your child is not asking, taking, or sending compromising photos or messages. Are they going to make mistakes? Yes. But what we do after the mistake is truly who we are as a people or as a person. If your child has a misstep, make sure they understand it's not the end of the world and you will help them get through it. If someone had intervened with Jill, kid had deleted the picture. One of her friends who saw that she was texting, I'm going to kill myself. If someone had stepped in, could we have stopped that? Maybe. Suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem. No coming back from that. Remember, it's more than online safety. It's their learning to respect themselves and respect others. Above all, and this should be in bold, italicized, in foot-tall letters, don't be afraid to be a parent. Do you speak your child's language? Can anybody tell me what the top thing is? If you look at it sideways, you might be able to figure it out. It's hard to tell. Homer Simpson? Dope. If you turn this way, here's Homer's eyes, there's his mouth. Sideways. Okay. POS, that's an acronym. It means something different than what you may be thinking. Does anybody know what that means?
Parent, isn't it parent over shoulder?
Parent over shoulder. KPG, what's KPG? And these are all kind of older, dated terms, but you don't know any of these? Yeah. Keep the party going. All right. So there are some terms, terminologies, and I left you a list of questionable or potentially dangerous apps. I left you some teen culture resources. Actually, one of them is pluggedinmagazine.com, and it's actually plugged in. They've changed their domain name. It's pluggedin.com, and it's kind kind of parent reviews of videos, music, all of that kind of thing. It's kind of faith-based, so if that's not your thing, it is what it is. Screenit.com is another one. That's movie reviews for parents. So if your kid wants to go to a movie or whatever, here's another horror story. My oldest, when he was 16 and a half, he and a couple of his buddies wanted to go to, it's a Marvel. I just blanked.
There's like 30 of those movies.
Yeah.
I know there's like 30 of them. What's the guy in the red and black suit?
Spider-Man?
No.
Deadpool?
Deadpool. They wanted to go to Deadpool. He and his buddies wanted to go to Deadpool, and I said, all right, it's an R-rated movie. And I briefly looked, and okay, there's language, and it's like, okay, I'm not too worried about it. I said, I'm not going to sit by you guys. I'm going to sit down below you, and you can whatever. If you haven't seen Deadpool, wow. The opening credits, the first 10 minutes of the movie, I literally was looking over my shoulder at the three of them going, what in the world did you drag me into? Yeah. So, things to think about. All right, and then ULA, and you have access to this. It's a lyric archive of all rap music. If you're listening to what your kids are listening to, listen to some of the language and some of the things that are going on within music. And I'm not picking on rap music in any way, shape, or form. I'm just saying music in general. UrbanDictionary.com is another really good resource. And then World Star Hip Hop is a good one too. And then I get asked about monitoring resources. TeenSafe is one of the monitoring services that you can put on your kids' phones, that you can monitor what they're doing. I will say this, Apple, for right, wrong, or indifferent, does a pretty good job of protecting their stuff. So most of the monitoring things don't work very well on Apple products. But if you have Android products, or you give your kids Android products, monitoring works much better on them. So I'm not selling anything, but I'm just saying. But nobody really wants an Android. They want the really cool iPhone stuff anymore. So mobilewatchdog.com and then iparent.tv are other resources. So things to think about. When I scroll back to this slide, above all, don't be afraid to be a parent. I did this presentation in the middle school a couple of years ago, and I had a parent come up to me and say, I don't know how I can do that. I don't know how I can take my phone from my kid. And I said, I don't know how to help you. I said, I'm going to try to help you. I'm going to try to give you the resources and everything else, but you got to do what you have to do to make sure your kid is safe. All right? Technology is a wonderful thing used in a positive way. It can be horrific and challenging if it's not. So, do you have any questions or anything that I can help you with? Thank you for your patience. Like I said, I wish my video worked better, but I think it gets a good point across for you all. Thank you.
That was very, very good, very informational. Very good.
And I will leave, like I said, the family media agreement and then some of the questionable. You can go online and Google some of the questionable sites too, because that changes all the time. Like I said, it would be a full-time job to try to keep up with some of the advances and some of the things that we're seeing. So,
thank you.
Thanks, Scott. Yep.
So we have just a few minutes left. Does anybody have anything to report in their constituencies? No? Everything's going to super?
That is great news.
Richard's not here today.
It's fantastic. All right. Anybody in our public would like to speak, say anything, have questions, concerns, comments? All right. Well, our next meeting is the 14th of October. Do we know who's presenting at that one?
I'm going to try to get our lead range master, who's very versed in firearms laws, to talk about firearms.
Perfect. That would be awesome. All right, does everybody want to get out of here a few minutes early? Or do you want to stay till 7?
No, thank you.
All right, well then we're adjourned.